I found out my brother had been stealing from me at a barbecue, not at a lawyer's office, not in some dramatic confrontation I had planned out in my head. At a backyard barbecue in Raleigh, North Carolina, holding a paper plate with a hot dog I never ended up eating. My name is Renata Hale. I am 42 years old. And the thing that made me set that paper plate down on the grass was hearing my mother casually say she had never once received the money I had been sending home. 7 years. Every single month. Gone. By the time my brother stood at a podium 6 weeks later, surrounded by people who thought he was a hero, I had already opened a folder that would change everything about the way my family told its story. But let me take you back to where it actually started. It's a kitchen in Greensboro 25 years ago, and a mother who had one child she talked about, and one child she talked at. My brother Darnell is 4 years older than me. Growing up, he was everything in our house that I was not. Loud where I was quiet. Flashy where I was steady. He played basketball and got written up in the local paper twice. Both clippings were framed in the hallway. I got a full academic scholarship to NC State my senior year. My mother told her book club and then asked me to set the table for dinner. I do not say this to be cruel. My father worked at a plant nursery for 31 years. My mother cleaned houses until her knees gave out. They were not wealthy people. They stretched every dollar, and the thing they could not give us was money. So they gave us the belief that Darnell was going somewhere, and I was there to help him get there. I believed it for a long time. I was 18 before I started to understand that the belief was not actually about Darnell. It was about my mother's fear. If Darnell succeeded, she had not failed. I was not part of that equation. I was just reliable. I was the one who paid my own tuition. I was the one who, at 24, started wiring $300 a month to my parents' joint account without them asking, because I quietly understood that their retirement was going to be a problem. 300 became 500. 500 became 750 the year my father had a cardiac scare. 7 years. Somewhere between $60,000 and $70,000, and not a single dollar of it had ever arrived. The barbecue was at Darnell's house, a 4-bedroom colonial with a fountain at the entrance. I remember thinking it was a lot of house for a man whose salary as a community liaison I roughly knew. I thought maybe he had gotten a raise. I thought maybe he and his wife Tricia had saved carefully. I had not yet learned to think the right things. The party was for his promotion. My mother was sitting near the azaleas, telling anyone who walked by that her son was going places. I sat down next to her, and because I was doing some personal accounting that week, I lightly mentioned I was moving the wire transfer to a new routing number and wanted to make sure she had received June's payment without any trouble. My mother looked at me the way you look at someone speaking a language you do not know. "Wire transfer?" she said. I clarified. "The June payment. To the joint account." She shook her head slowly. "Baby, your daddy and I haven't seen any money from you. Not in years." I remember the paper plate. I remember the specific sound of a lawnmower feeling very far away. I set the plate on the grass. I excused myself and sat in my car in my brother's driveway for 14 minutes. I am a financial analyst. My specific job is to look at numbers and find the story they are trying to tell. On the drive home that night, I pulled the story out of the numbers. I had set up the transfers online using an account number my brother had texted me the day I called to tell him I wanted to help out with the folks. I had trusted him the way you trust a sibling who once stayed up with you all night when you had the flu as a kid. The way you trust someone who has had a long time to learn how to seem trustworthy. I would find out 3 days later that the account number did belong to a joint account. His and Tricia's. He had given me a real account number. Just not my parents' account number. His own. I did not call him. I called my college roommate, Gwen, a forensic accountant in Atlanta. She walked me through it and told me I needed a paper trail before I said a single word to anyone. I spent 2 weeks building it. I pulled every wire confirmation I had ever sent, legally securing the bank's official transfer logs. I documented the fraudulent account number my brother had given me, exposing his and his wife's names on the deposit signatures against the actual account numbers my parents used. I had a binder by the end of it, tabbed, color-coded, 61 pages. The promotion celebration was a formal dinner. Darnell's company rented out a private dining room with 200 people there. Colleagues, local officials, and even a television reporter doing a segment on corporate community investment. I almost did not go, but Gwen told me, "You are going to sit there, watch your brother receive his plaque, and let the folder speak for itself afterward. You are not going to make a scene." She was right. And then Darnell gave his speech. He talked about community. He talked about sacrifice and putting others first. And then he said, "None of this would have been possible without my family. My wife Tricia, and my little sister Renata, who has always been my rock, my biggest supporter, the quiet one who keeps the whole thing running." 200 people looked at me. Across the room, I locked eyes with my brother, letting the dead weight of my stare completely shatter his confident facade. I watched his hand slightly tremble on the podium as my silence stretched just a second too long. I smiled, a tight, merciless line. I picked up my water glass, took a sip, and thought, "You just said that into a microphone." I waited 11 more days because I needed to make one phone call before anything else happened. I called my parents, together, on speaker. I walked them through it slowly. I told them the exact amount, where the money had actually been going, and about the binder. My mother did not say anything for almost 30 seconds. My father said, "I am sorry, Renata. We assumed you had stopped. We thought maybe things had gotten hard for you. We did not want to bring it up." He thought things had gotten hard for me. He thought I stopped because I could not afford to keep going, and he never brought it up because he did not want to add to my burden. That sentence broke me open, standing in my kitchen on a Tuesday afternoon. I sent the binder to my brother by certified mail with a 4-sentence cover letter. I stated what I had documented, what I intended to do with it, and his timeline to respond before I involved other parties. He called me 6 hours later. The call lasted 40 minutes. Halfway through, he switched from panic to a screaming, desperate fury. He shouted that I was trying to ruin his life, accusing me of being secretly jealous of his success. Then, the anger crumbled into justification. He claimed he had used the money to cover luxury car leases and his bloated mortgage during a rough patch. He spoke with the staggering entitlement of a golden child who genuinely believed my hard-earned income was just another family resource he was inherently owed. He claimed it had just gotten away from him. I asked him what he thought 61 months of stealing from his own flesh and blood felt like. I asked him how it felt to buy his way to a corner office using his sister's retirement fund. The line went completely dead quiet. He had no explosive comeback for the truth. I filed a civil claim 4 months later. Between the documented transfers, the interest, and the court's assessment of damages, the final figure was not small. Darnell settled rather than litigate. The settlement went into a dedicated account, managed by a third-party trustee, specifically designated for my parents' care. My mother cried when I told her the amount. I did not cry. I had already done it privately in my brother's driveway 7 weeks earlier. My brother and I do not speak. I made that decision clearly, because revisiting a fence you have built carefully is mostly just a way of slowly taking it apart. My parents and I speak every Sunday. My mother no longer brings up Darnell in the first 3 sentences of every call. Whether she is angry at him or finally understands my boundaries, I do not know, and it does not matter. What matters is that when she calls now, the first thing she says is, "How are you doing, baby?" And she actually listens to the answer. I drove down to Greensboro 2 months ago. My father and I had lunch at a diner he has been going to since before I was born. We sat there for 2 hours and we did not talk about Darnell once. We talked about my work. We talked about a trip to the Great Smoky Mountains. We talked about the first time I brought home a perfect score on a spelling test and how he had kept the paper in his wallet until it disintegrated. I had waited 42 years for that lunch. It was worth every mile. Here is what I want to leave you with tonight. The most expensive thing I ever did was stay quiet. Not because of the money, though the money mattered, but because silence in a family is not kindness. It reads as permission. Every year, I did not ask my mother why I was never enough. She had the luxury of never having to answer. Every year, I sent that wire without confirming it arrived. I was handing someone a door I had not meant to leave open. I am not asking you to blow up your family. I am asking you to stop being available in ways that cost you everything and return you nothing. Build the fence. Keep the gate. Know which key is yours. I keep landing on the moment right before the barbecue, when I pulled into my brother's driveway and thought, briefly, that his house seemed like a lot of house. I noticed. I just did not let myself know what I had noticed. You already know what you know. You have known it longer than you think. The question is just what day you decide to let yourself know it out loud. For me, it was a Tuesday afternoon with a certified mail receipt and 61 pages of proof. That was the day the second half of my life started. You get to pick your Tuesday. Thank you for sitting with me tonight.